Hey everybody, it's time for another episode of 24 FPS presents The Good, the Bad, the Bond. That's right, we're coming to you with our third episode and our second Bond. And this episode's a little bit different than the other actors because we're covering an actor who only played Bond once, which means his good movie and his bad movie are the same movie. We're going to be able to pick through that and kind of figure out what we think is good, what we think is bad, and just overall review the movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Travis is here as always, joining us, being a part of this conversation. So it's me, Steven, him, Travis, and we're going to get into some James Bond.
Yeah, we are.
First off, had you ever seen this movie before, Travis? Because I hadn't.
I had. I don't remember when I saw it. I've seen, I'm pretty sure, all of the James Bond movies, but it had been a while. It's not one that I go back and rewatch a lot. Like, if I'm going back to rewatch Bond, it's GoldenEye, it's Casino Royale, it's Goldfinger. But for whatever reason, this one, I just don't go back and watch as often.
Yeah, sure. I remember getting into James Bond in the mid-90s because I was coming of age, 11, 12, 13. So that cool secret agent was kind of my thing. But I remember I had a friend who was super into James Bond, and the George Lazenby movies, he always frowned upon it. But we have to remember he was 12. Right. So a Bond who only played Bond once was just like, man, there was that one guy. And that was always the prevailing thing was, George Lazenby is the worst Bond. And part of that is he only did it the one time. We'll kind of get into, I want to get into him a little bit more. Yeah. We'll be digging in. But as somebody who'd never seen On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I'd love a synopsis of the plot.
Sure.
And the synopsis coming from IMDb this time around is British agent James Bond goes undercover to pursue the villainous Ernst Stavro Blofeld, who is planning to hold the world to ransom. Travis, that seems to be Blofeld's modus operandi.
It kind of is, yeah. He's just sort of
old MO.
He just every couple of years he decides I'm going to hold the world to ransom with some new scheme, and this time around it was bioengineered virus to make the crops sterile. I believe
to make everything sterile. We're going to sterilize the universe.
Yeah,
it's going to be great. Which sent me on the theory of maybe James Bond got a little bit of that virus because we know he never had children. There's a couple James Bond movies where the potential for him to no longer be able to have children has probably come around. We'll talk about one of those movies later in the season. But this is in my head canon right now. That's why James Bond doesn't have if he did have children run over, he'd never know it. But I'm just assuming he never did that.
He might. He has kids in various points around the globe.
I'm sure
there are little Jimmy Bonds everywhere.
Little Jimmy Bond. There's James Bond Jr., the cartoon. I don't know if this is canon, but it could be. So I'm going to go ahead and read us some critics reviews of this movie because this movie comes in at 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, which by no means a bad movie.
Not at all. And it's funny because it's all, like I said, it's always the one that, it's the worst James Bond movie, blah, blah, blah. It's really not. And the critics didn't hate it. And we'll talk about at the end. I want to mention a couple of names that really like this movie. That might surprise you. But
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, 81%, the critics didn't hate this when it came out at all. And neither did audiences really. It didn't make as much money as some of the previous Bond movies, but it still made plenty.
Yeah. I mean, it's going up against that Sean Connery being the previous Bond. We're getting a new guy.
Yeah.
What's that like? What's that mean for us? And so I can understand an audience being unsure. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a James Bond movie. Maybe we're different because our generation is accustomed to Bond being played by different actors.
Oh, I'm sure that's a big part of it.
So we're used to it. But I'm curious. Hey, if you're out there and you want to write in to 24fpspresents@gmail.com, if you were around when James Bond did this switch, I'd love to know the temperature of the conversation around when this happened.
For
if you're a movie buff at the time, that'd be really, really cool to know. But overall, we've got a few reviews. The first one I kind of did a odd and even. I did a good review, bad review. The first good review on Her Majesty's Secret Service is pure poetry. It transcends the idea of a Bond film, gorgeously photographed, thrillingly executed, and wonderfully performed. This is the franchise zenith.
Wow.
You might say that was glowing.
That is quite glowing.
That person loved that movie. Now, the next one, a little bit different. This is a negative, a rotten review. The movie follows almost too much the exact same format of Bond flicks of the mid-'60s and shows nothing new in character development or film technique. I don't want to critique every one of these reviews, but I disagree with that one pretty wholeheartedly.
I do too. Yeah.
And we'll get into why Travis and I disagree with that as we go along. Another good review: On Her Majesty's Secret Service remains a fine Bond film where the story is not super engaging and the film overall does feel long. George Lazenby is fun enough as Bond, and the story is just clean enough to where you can get a bit invested in it. That seemed like that's level-headed in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the final is the dehumanizing of Bond has reached a point where pain has become the last irrelevance, and he soaks up punishment with the dreadful willingness of a cartoon cat.
Huh.
Which Bond is definitely getting his butt handed to him a lot, but that's not different than the Connery movies we watched. He's always
at all.
He's getting snuck up on. His whole thing seems to be a Houdini-esque ability to get out of any jam.
Yeah, he is both the best and worst secret agent of all time because he's great at what he does, but he's also constantly snuck up on, hit over the head and knocked unconscious and taken somewhere. Or just fooled by usually the women in that he runs in the encounters. But it's kind of funny that way.
He is easily distracted for a secret agent. He's just going to do what he needs to do. And I mean, he gets snuck up on multiple times in this. But we'll get to him here in a minute. But in carrying on with our introduction of the movie itself, we've got to talk about the song. The song at the beginning is probably one of the more definitive James Bond themes that we have.
Yeah. So James Bond theme songs are almost universally great. Like there's very few that are bad. And I love a lot of the different varying styles we get. This was the last one, I'm pretty sure, to be fully instrumental. And it was it was the only one to be instrumental after From Russia with Love. So after From Russia with Love, we got Goldfinger. Talked about that last episode as the standard for Bond themes. But you also had Thunderball and You Only Live Twice. And then this one, I really like On Her Majesty's Secret Service as a theme. I think that it's one that some of them you hear and you immediately know. Like some of them I like more as just songs than Bond themes, like Live and Let Die from Wings, Paul McCartney and Wings. Really great song. It's a fine Bond theme. Nothing wrong with it at all. But I like it better just as its own song. Yeah. The same with was it Duran Duran that did Living Daylights? Or was that Aha? I don't remember. Or maybe which like Duran Duran did one, and I think Aha maybe. But like when I think of Bond themes, I think of GoldenEye with Tina Turner. I think of Goldfinger. I think of On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And there's those to me are not only like the best in terms of Bond themes, but like movie themes in general, as opposed to just really good songs that they put in the opening credits. So
and this song could carry, because it's instrumental and because it has the Bondish vibe, can be carried through as a motif throughout the movie. Yes. Like a lot of the times, especially in the more modern Bonds, the songs at the beginning and then its score that doesn't really call back to it, as you go along. At least not that I can recall. So this one is allowed to be played multiple times and throughout the movie when they want to build some intrigue and suspense, because it's one of those that has you wondering what's about to happen, what's going on, we're getting into it. I like that it builds. It was pretty great. So yeah, I agree. Definitely one of the best Bond songs, also, especially That'll Be Heard so far.
Yeah, and a great version of it, if you ever look for it, the Propellerheads put out an album in 1998, and they did a 90s techno EDM version of this. It's like 9 minutes long, but it's so good. It's really worth finding.
I also have to look that up.
Absolutely. I also like, it's an interesting opening credit sequence, right? Because we've seen opening credits and it's always like Goldfinger, it's the gold painted woman. and the shots of that. And we talked about how Diamonds Are Forever was like a little more explicitly sexual.
Yeah.
In its imagery, but it's still like silhouettes and all that. This one used clips from all the previous movies instead of stuff from this movie and imagery that evoked this particular one. And I'm not exactly sure why they did that. And it's also the only time they did that. And I don't know if it was like we don't want to give anything away, or not revealing the face of James Bond yet because it was a new actor. I don't know, but it's interesting to me that they did that. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. But I think the song is really what drives it. So
the song is what I was paying attention to. I looked at your notes talking about it was from previous movies, and I really didn't even notice. I was just so listening to the music, watching the stuff. I didn't really think about where it was coming from.
Sure. No, it makes sense.
But it was good stuff. But let's talk a little bit about our main character.
Good morning. My name's Bond. James Bond.
Now that's a voice I have not heard yet. This Bond played by George Lazenby, the only actor to play one Bond, as we've said before. Overall, like, I mean, his introduction, I'm like, that guy's James Bond. Okay.
Oh yeah. No, he has the look. Like, physicality. He's tall. Yeah, he's tall, dark hair. It interestingly, the story goes that Lazenby, who was not an actor, and this was his first major film. He had done some television stuff.
Okay.
But he had the story goes that he went and picked up a suit that was basically tailored for Sean Connery, but never picked up. He got a haircut to look like Connery. He went in and had a meeting with Saltzman and Broccoli and the director. And
it was pretty much it was Peter Hunt for this movie was the director. Yeah.
He goes in, he has the meeting, just BS's his way into it, does it, and then tells Peter Hunt afterwards, I had no idea what I was doing. I just made it all up. And he's like, I'm not an actor. And Peter Hunt goes, you just snowed two of the most ruthless people in Hollywood. You're an actor, kid. Like, basically. So he had no acting experience, really, like real film experience, which I think helped him and also hurt him, because it was the only movie he did. They wanted to sign him up for like a 7-picture deal, is the rumor.
Jeez.
And his agent told him, don't sign that deal because the franchise is on the way out. It's not going to continue on. He sort of was, there's like, you get varying accounts, right? Some people talk about how he was young and he was really cocky, and some people say he was unprofessional. He had his problems with the director on the set. Like, the director apparently didn't talk to him a whole lot on set, but yet he wanted to do all of his own stunts, but the producers wouldn't let him do that. And like, there's conflicting reports of sort of what happened, but I didn't dislike him. I thought he carried himself well. I thought he looked the part for sure. In his like tissue paper t-shirts or shirts. Those shirts were so thin, and he wears nothing under them, which is hilarious to me.
Oh yeah. It was just armpit sweat coming out everywhere. He looked, now the puffy part on the front, he always had puffy stuff. Now that was pretty thick, but his arms, like you could tear those with your fingers. Just gone.
There was once or twice where his Australian accent slipped in just a little bit. Not too bad. He did a fairly decent job of covering it up, but he's one of only 2 actors to play James Bond to this point that was not English, not from the UK. Wow. Or English or Scottish. UK, because him and Pierce Brosnan's Irish.
Oh, that's right.
But, Sean Connery's Scottish, and all that. So, like, it was an interesting difference to go with an Aussie. But I didn't dislike him. I think his biggest downfall was simply not being Sean Connery. Like, that's not his fault that he's not Sean Connery. But, you mentioned that we're of an age and an era where we were used to, by that time, multiple actors having played him, because we had Connery, Lazenby, Moore, and Dalton before Pierce Brosnan. By the time we were old enough to watch James Bond in the theater, he was on his 5th iteration.
Yeah.
But this was, after 5 Connery films. Connery was James Bond. In fact, the marketing for You Only Live Twice, a lot of it was Sean Connery is James Bond in You Only Live Twice. And then in this, they didn't do any marketing like that at all. They downplayed the change in actor.
They wanted you to kind of forget it happened. They wanted you to get into the theater and be like, oh, a new guy, but you'd already paid your money, so you might as well stay.
Yeah.
You know, like we're so used to these days having the internet tell us what is happening day in and day out on a movie.
Oh, yeah.
In the 60s and 70s, like if you weren't reading Variety or something like every day, we didn't have Entertainment Tonight back then.
Nope.
You know, it's not like movie trailers even then were just at the theater before the movie. Like you didn't have the constant flurry of news. So when you do sit down in the movie, you see the poster and it says George Lazenby, but I mean, not everybody's connected with that.
No. And unless you, like you said, unless you were in the trades reading Variety in those trades, like you just didn't know until you went and saw the movie. So that would be a big thing. You know, he told a magazine that he was looking forward to playing James Bond for, quote, the bread and the birds, meaning the money and the women.
The money and women, yeah.
And, you know, there was also like things where he supposedly self-sabotaged to try and not do any more Bond movies. Like he showed up to the premiere with a full beard and shoulder-length hair and not looking like James Bond at all. And it's like doing a film like this and a franchise like this. I mean, part of the reason Connery stopped doing it was he got burnt out on trying to be James Bond all the time because the press always wanted him to be Bond. And he's like, I'm not James Bond, I'm Sean Connery. And I think Lazenby got some of that right away. Was like, didn't want to just be, especially in his first film, he didn't want to be pigeonholed. No. We'll talk about that with Daniel Craig too at one point when we get there. It's hard. It's hard to do not only the filming, but then the press and all of the promotion for it. Even back then, you had a lot of promotional tours and things for these movies. That's difficult. And so I get it, but I think he was fine. He's also the only James Bond actor to get nominated for a Golden Globe for his portrayal.
And his first go at it as an actor, he fakes his way through it and then gets a Golden Globe nomination.
Yeah. Although I think he owes George Baker part of that nomination. Because I kept track from the 48-minute mark until an hour and 19 minutes. So what's that, half an hour?
Yeah.
30 minutes of runtime. All of his lines are dubbed over by George Baker as Sir Hilary, save one line. Wow. So for 30 minutes of the movie, we don't even hear George Lazenby, which is hilarious to me. It's either amazing, dubbed lines or nothing.
This seems to be a practice in the James Bond series so far, is lots of ADR to cover for it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to another one in a little bit of some other ADR that was done for this movie, but he was not the first choice, by the way. But go ahead with what you had to say, and then I'll.
Well, I was just going through IMDb because I mean, George Lazenby, literally the only thing I've ever heard of him being in is James Bond. Like I know he's the one Bond. That dude's been working. I mean, he has not stopped acting. He has a few breaks in his IMDb a few times. He did a whole lot of weird, cheesy, soft romance stuff in the early 90s. I'm seeing a lot of Emmanuel in Venice. Somebody who wanted the bread and the birds. He knew what he was going for. But they said flipping Gettysburg in 93, and like he's clearly been busy.
I also remember him in a couple of episodes of The Pretender back in the late 90s. But it was interesting, right? Because he was like the movie star that never was. Because this is the first role he does, rockets him to stardom in a way. Like he is James Bond, but then he doesn't do any more James Bond movies. And then a few years after this, supposedly he was getting ready to meet with Golden Harvest president, I think it was Stanley Tong and Bruce Lee, right before Bruce Lee died. Like basically a week before that meeting was when Bruce Lee collapsed and had his whole thing and died. So like he was going to apparently do something there. And that kind of stalled his career. And so, but he kept working. He just never became that name that he could have been. But there were some other people that were considered or offered the role prior to Lazenby being picked. One of them reportedly was Timothy Dalton at the time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But he didn't think he felt he was too young, is what the trivia says. He was 22 at the time, which is
that's probably
very young.
You want to be a little bit more grizzled, you know?
Yeah. James Bond should be a little bit older. Another name I saw that blew my mind was Oliver Reed was considered at one point. Oliver Reed, who you will know from Gladiator as Proximo.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oliver Reed's the dude who drank a bunch of people under the table or something.
Yes.
Shooting Gladiator. Isn't that the story?
Yes. Yep. And this one is probably my favorite because, and again, these are all online trivia, so take them with a grain of salt. But Oliver Reed was a candidate, but Albert Broccoli later commented that with Reed, we would have had a far greater problem to destroy his image and remold him as James Bond. We just didn't have the time or the money to do that because he was notorious as a partier and a drinker then, 30 years before Gladiator. So you can imagine like that was just his thing. But Oliver Reed as James Bond would have been very different.
Yes, that would have been a whole different show.
So, but no, I liked Lazenby. I thought he was fine. I also liked that he decks out in a kilt during the movie.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because Bond is supposed to be English.
Right.
Even though he's played by a Scot.
He's playing that
that's true. He is playing Sir Hilary. Yeah, that's
Sir
a good
Hilary.
point.
So the idea of him being in a kilt makes a lot of sense. Is that he's playing a character of Sir Hilary, which dude owned that kilt. Like he wore it. It didn't wear him.
Oh no, he rocked it.
He had every bit of charisma required to play this role. Just
absolutely
the whole time. I'm watching him, and I never once sat there and went, I can't believe they cast this guy. Like my whole experience was he's fantastic. Like put him in more movies. He's great.
If you don't have 5 Sean Connery movies before this one, and you start with Lazenby, he could have done many of them and been great at it. And he could have continued after this and done well. I do love that in this movie, Bond as Sir Hilary uses this exact same lines on 2 of the women.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Back to back, which is such a James Bond thing because it's like only James Bond could get away with doing that and be able to do that with a straight face.
Yes, absolutely. It's not that James Bond has a ton of game. He's just got a handful of pickup lines and lots of women to use them on.
Yep.
It was really good. I love seeing that play back to back too. And I looked at my wife at the time, I was like, homie's got some stamina because he just was with that other lady like an hour ago.
Right.
Like, what is happening? But no, hands down, easily one of my favorite Bonds of the bunch. I mean, I really did. I mean, there's only so many to choose from, but this was, I guess a better way to say it is this was not a downgrade that I expected it to be because of all the stories or all the dismissiveness of him that I've always heard. This was not a downfall. He couldn't have been fired for his performance not being up to snuff or his ability to be James Bond not up to snuff. He just didn't want to do it and be pigeonholed, like you said, into the role. And it was kind of young in your career, first movie, you do not want to be stuck being that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was like a combination of that. And then the producers wanted Connery back and they paid him a bunch more money to bring him back because this movie, while it did fine, didn't do as good. And then eventually they were able to get Roger Moore, who they wanted anyway. So, it's unfortunate that because you never want to be the guy, you never want to be the one to follow the legend. You want to follow that person. You want to be two steps removed. And, like I say, his biggest downfall was just not being Sean Connery.
Exactly. But we also have a villain to talk about.
Merry Christmas, 007.
I'm Sir Hilary Bragg.
Oh, no, Mr. Bond.
Telly Savalas. I did not realize, I think we'd mentioned in an episode that he played Blofeld. I did not realize we were going to be watching one of the movies where he played Blofeld. I was captivated by this man when he was on screen.
Man, Telly Savalas. Okay, I'm going to start with this because I feel that this is very important to say.
Yeah.
Smoking is not good. Okay, don't do it. Don't pick up the habit. I've done it. It's bad. I kicked the habit, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, when I did smoke, I definitely held a cigarette like Telly Savalas because it just looked
thumb and index
cool.
Finger.
Thumb and index finger inverted from what you would normally think of as holding a cigarette, like palm up. It's just, you just look, he looks so cool like that. I can't help it. It's bad. Don't do it.
Yeah.
But he looks cool.
You and I are diverging on how to hold a cigarette and what looks cool. Because it's funny to me because I was watching him hold that cigarette. And I've recently got into watching King of the Hill for the first time. I've never watched this whole show. And there's an episode where Bobby gets in trouble for smoking. And Hank makes him smoke like 20 packs of cigarettes. And it devolves from there. But one of the things that happens is it's Bobby's holding the cigarette like Telly Savalas is and smoking it like that. And Hank's like, what are you doing? You're smoking it like some kind of European. Give me that. Like it shows him smoking it between two fingers. And to me, that cracked me up because, yeah, he looked ridiculous. But to you, oh, dude's relaxed with that cigarette. He's holding the palm up.
It's the palm up. It's the, like, he just doesn't care. He's just like, I'm Telly Savalas. Who loves you, baby? You know, it's just, and the other great thing is like him playing Blofeld. He's the fourth different actor to play Blofeld at this point. Two of them were like kind of cameo, smaller roles. And then we had Donald Pleasance. Yeah. He plays him so differently from Donald Pleasance.
So different.
And it's kind of jarring almost, but he's great.
Yeah. I'm much more scared of Telly Savalas Blofeld than the Donald Pleasance Blofeld.
It's such a different type of scary. Like, Telly Savalas Blofeld, you're scared because you're worried, what is he going to do to me? Mm-hmm. How is he going to hurt me? Donald Pleasance just has this like simmering, he's going to mess some things up, but he's not necessarily going to do it directly to you. Like, he's not going to physically harm you. He is just going to pull the strings and do everything behind the scenes. Telly Savalas, his version of Blofeld is going to wring your neck. He's going to chase you down on a pair of skis down the mountain in ridiculous goggles. Yes. He's
imposing. So he's not the character that's going to let other henchmen do the job for him.
Right.
Or run away scared. He's the Blofeld that is in the business because he wants to personally hurt you.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that worked for me and made him work as a better villain to me. I did notice he didn't have a scar on his face. So this Blofeld, they were primarily going for he's bald. Yeah.
So in the books, Blofeld is described differently. In this novel, he has long silvery hair.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But Blofeld was never bald in the books. But Donald Pleasance had shaved his head for a movie he was doing prior to You Only Live Twice. So he was bald for that. And then Telly Savalas had shaved his head for a movie also. And he liked the look, so he went with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, then the first one we did, Diamonds Are Forever, they get Charles Gray, who just has hair.
Right.
Interestingly, you know who else was up for the role of Blofeld in this before Telly Savalas? Yul Brynner.
Oh, that would have been a choice.
I would have really liked Yul Brynner as Blofeld. I think that would have been really cool. But Yul Brynner was like a great actor and a great presence. But you've got Blofeld in this. Blofeld is the Bond villain. He is.
Sure. Yeah, he's more.
You think of Bond, you think of Blofeld and his cat and the bald head and all that kind of stuff. And he's in this movie, but he doesn't show up till an hour in.
Right.
55 minutes before he's there. He's mentioned a couple of times. Also, because they're adapting the novels and they're doing them out of order, it gets some continuity issues. Because if you notice in this, James Bond and Blofeld meet face to face and act like they've never met each other before.
Right.
And that's because in the novels, in the books, this was the first time they met, was on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
This was their first time. Got it.
And So it's just funny to me because like the previous movie they met face to face, but it was two different actors playing them, and now here they are again, and it's like they don't know each other, but Bond knows Blofeld. Blofeld knows who Bond is in the movie continuity already, but here he's acting like he doesn't, because obviously Blofeld would have just picked him out right away.
But I think it works for me because I always view Bond movies in a bit of a vacuum. Like they're their own standalone tale. Like there's very few Bonds where there's a continuity where it's like this happened and then this happened. I mean, Daniel Craig had a couple where it's like this is a direct sequel. Yeah. But most of them don't really allude to previous adventures or adventures later. So I think when I was watching it, even though that is odd that they would be like, how did Blofeld not recognize that was Bond? Like he was just walking around looking like himself. He didn't. Yeah. It's not really the best disguise. No. But I mean, in the context of it being a standalone tale, it worked for me, and it didn't really.
I mean, yeah. End of the day, it doesn't hurt at all. Like it's fine. It's just one of those that if you think about it too much, it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. But then when you realize, because the progression of the novels was, I think it was On Her Majesty's Secret Service, You Only Live Twice, Thunderball, or maybe. And they did them in like a reverse order because they did Thunderball first, then You Only Live Twice, and then On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So
okay, yeah,
there's just a little bit there, but I feel like if you were doing it today, they would have just taken more care to like make sure that you kind of know that. So it's just, it's little nitpicks, but overall, like Telly Savalas is he's great in this role. He gets to actually. Yeah, he gets the physicality of being. He's one of the few like Bond villains, actual like head villains, that is a physical threat to James Bond.
Yeah,
and fights him physically, because normally it's the henchmen that do, and like Goldfinger doesn't fight Bond really. No. I mean, they have a little scuffle, but it's not really.
They fight with their wits. They weren't fighting with their fists. Yeah. Which is fine. I did think you said he appears 55 minutes in this movie, which brings me to the point that I struggled with the most with this film, as a slight detour from our Bond villain. The runtime. Mm-hmm. This was a 2 hour and 20-minute Bond movie. Yeah. And it could have been an hour and 40-minute Bond movie for the amount of time it took us to do anything. It's like someone was afraid of the editing machine when they needed to edit, but when they didn't need to edit, they cut out weird junk. Every one of these fights had like almost every other frame edit kind of scenario going on. You would see a punch start, get cut, and then sliced back in like several frames in advance. It was the weirdest thing to watch.
Was it Peter Ford?
Peter Hunt.
Peter Hunt did editing for a lot of the early Bond movies.
Okay.
He was the editor for a lot of those. And then he was supposed to direct, was it Thunderball? I don't remember. He was supposed to direct one of them, and they ended up not having him. So he got upset, left, and then he ran into Broccoli in Japan while they were getting ready to do You Only Live Twice. And he was like, hey, come be our second unit director, and then you can direct the next movie. And so that's how all happened. Was he was second unit for You Only Live Twice, then he got to direct this movie. But yeah, some of those editing choices were weird. And I get editing a fight. There's a lot of times where you edit and you cut right before the impact of a punch.
Sure, yeah.
Then you show the
change the angle and
and that's to but they did it in a weird way here. It felt odd.
Edits.
And there's some other editing.
Every action sequence had some weird cuts happening, and it wasn't cuts that made a lot of sense. It was just not. I struggled with it.
It was trying to increase the speed and ferocity of the fighting, because if you we talked about it with some of John Glenn and Guy Hamilton's directing style for the action is very slow paced. And they wanted to up the pace on this. And so everything was a little fast. They undercranked a lot. You could you could sense that.
You could see that. You could see the undercranking big time, even in the car driving places. Like they use that technique quite a bit to increase speed. The problem with the undercrank method, which for those not in the know of the lingo, back in the day, you actually hand cranked your recording, and it was up to the projectionist to do the same cranking speed. And if there was called for a speedier spot or a slower spot, one of the two would change the speed of how they did it. So you might crank a little slower if you want the projection to go faster. That's where that comes from. And that's what they do. That's why you see those weird Benny Hill style speed up moments. They don't look natural. They don't make it look like it went faster. It makes it look like it went awkwardly faster.
And it's
fools your
it
brain.
Basically boils down to like our title, 24 FPS presents 24 FPS frames per second. That's the natural motion speed. And if you want things to look faster, you put fewer frames through when recording. So then when it's played back at 24, it looks faster. Same goes in the opposite direction. You overcrank, you run more frames through. When you play it back at 24, it gets slower.
Yeah.
And
you do that with recorders too. If you want to play with this, record your audio on a tape deck and then set it to like a slower speed and vice versa. And you can, I did that as a kid all the time. It was my favorite thing.
So, it is what it is. But I did, getting back to Blofeld, I did like him. I thought his plan was kind of interesting too. Like the idea of using a virus and spreading that virus around to sterilize things. The threat of like all your crops will go sterile and you won't be able to grow anything, and people or animals or whatever. And then you're going to pay me a bunch of money, so I don't do that. I'm going to hold the world hostage.
Sketch.
Oh, sure.
Just bringing in a bunch of women to his mountain lair, which was this was equivalent to, which I loved, by the way. I love that all of our villains have funky lairs in places. At the top of a mountain in Switzerland, has all these women come there who have allergies. I'm guessing they're there for a therapy to help their allergies, but are really being hypnotized. There's a lot of undertones of just women being subservient going on in this whole thing. It's super duper gross, but it's also, it works because it's Blofeld being super duper gross. But then James is also kind of like, ooh, women, and they're ogling over him because he's the first handsome dude to come to this place. And it's like, it's this weird feisty female scenario that just feels very awkward when you look at it both.
It is awkward, but also like they don't do a lot with it. They don't do explain much. And so I'm appreciative of them not going into too much detail on it, but also it feels weird. Like it just feels like, okay, wait, what are we doing? Hold on.
Like you couldn't have had any dudes with allergies come to this place to get cured. Like, no, men are too strong-willed to be hypnotized by my gadgetry. I don't know. There's some of that going on, and that's probably weird. But yeah, Blofeld, fantastic villain. Let's talk a little bit about the Bond girls.
Please, Teresa. There's only a possibility. Nothing definite.
Tell him, Papa, or you will never see me again.
Tell him, Papa. Teresa, Tracy, shows up right at the beginning of the movie, Travis. Right at the beginning, walking into the ocean. None of this in the introduction of this movie made any sense to me. You got a woman wandering in the ocean. James is just driving by, and he's like, oh, look, a lady in a robe going into the ocean. Guess I'll go get her out of there. We have no context for what is happening.
None whatsoever.
He goes down to the beach. He grabs her. She's fainted in his arms. I don't know. Puts her on the beach and then gets attacked by some dudes to get the story rolling. I don't know.
Essentially, we don't know how or why this got started. No. But it's Diana Rigg playing Tracy. Diana Rigg, famously Emma Peel in the Avengers. So it's our second Avengers. It's our second straight episode, but our second Bond movie where the Bond girl was an Avenger. From the old British TV show, The Avengers.
Because Honor Blackman was our previous Bond girl.
Yes, she was.
I did that.
I like Tracy overall. She's an interesting Bond girl. It's just it's an odd introduction. It also did lead to what I thought was a hilarious in-joke, which is after... So, yeah, you're right. Like, it's so weird because Bond is just driving along and this car comes up behind him, speeds past, then he sees it parked at the side of the road, watches her just walking into the ocean. So he drives down and grabs her out of the ocean and introduces himself. And then these two mooks just show up out of nowhere.
Just show up and beat
They're
the
just
crap
there.
out of him.
And they have a little fight. And at the end of it, and she gets in the car, she gets in his car, drives back up off the beach to get out and get back into her car and drive away.
Very courteous of her not to steal the Aston Martin.
I thought that was
go getting hers.
I thought that was nice, but that did lead to James then saying,
"This never happened to the other fella."
There's where his Aussie accent just kind of sneaks in a little bit.
Crept in if you're listening for it.
And that of course is the line that feeds a lot of people's theory that James Bond is a code name.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
when it's really it was literally just a joke,
right,
on set, and they're like, "Yeah, let's run with it."
Run with it. That's interesting, though. The whole idea that James Bond is everyone. That's the name assigned to 007. Yeah.
But Tracy, as a character, outside of a weird intro, is interesting in that she is the Bond girl that James falls for. Like, yes, truly.
But not... He's kind of driven to fall for her. So, like, what I thought was interesting is her dad's basically using her as a pawn. You know? He wants James to marry her. Well, James wants to know the information about Blofeld. Draco... This is Draco. Yes. He runs Draco Industries. He's like, I know stuff about Blofeld, but you need to marry my daughter. Like, it's real weird. It's a funky situation, but they naturally do start to enjoy each other's company in a way that's believable. In a way that you're like, okay, Bond might actually care about this woman past just, and it's kind of an older story trope, you know. I'm forced in proximity with this person and I can't help, now I'm falling in love with them and I'm gonna marry them and they're mine, or we're together.
I feel like, I have not read the novel, but I feel like in the novel they probably have the ability to take the time to actually have the relationship grow naturally, instead of they meet and then he kind of follows her to the Casino Royale, which is basically what that was. It was the casino. Because we have to have Bond in a casino playing Baccarat. Like, you just have to. But he sees her there. They have their night of passion. And then I kind of like that he rescues her from trying to drown herself in the ocean. And then has a night with her at the hotel. Like, kind of follows her. It was a little creepy. But he follows her to the hotel, does all of that. And then her dad effectively kidnaps him to be like, you need to do more with my daughter. Because he had a line where, what did he say? It was...
Remember.
Nope, not that one. He's trying to convince James to, like, date his daughter and maybe, marry her. And James says...
She needs a psychiatrist, not me.
What she needs is a man to dominate her.
Like... Dude, that's your daughter, man. Yeah. Come on.
60s. I didn't even look when this one dropped.
69 is when this came out.
Yeah, okay.
We'll talk a little more about Draco, but like it's interesting because Tracy as a character starts off with very little agency in the plot, but we quickly get that she is no nonsense and doesn't really listen to her dad and doesn't do what her dad says to do. But falls for James anyway. My problem with it is narratively, it happens because it's a movie too quickly and too tropey. You know, she goes away and then turns around and she's crying, and then we just get a montage of them together for an indeterminate amount of time, and now they're in love, or at least she's in love with him.
I'm choosing to believe that indeterminate amount of time was actually a long time, and we're seeing just bits and pieces. Like, I'm reminded of Big Fish. In Big Fish, the movie, Edward Bloom wants to know more information about this girl, and the circus ring master, so I'll tell you one thing about her every month you work for me. And overall, that passes many months in a very short amount of time. You only get a few clips of him learning things, but he's learned a lot outside of the film. And I want to believe that's kind of what happened here, that I'll give you info about Blofeld. but you don't really know when he's going to do that information. So yeah, that could have been a week, but it also could have been 3 or 4 months. And
no, I think
people are like, you've been together for 3 months. You're not married yet. What are you doing?
And
you know what I mean?
I do think that it is supposed to be like a fairly extended amount of time, but also at the same time, you've got M kind of getting on James's case about like, hey, you're done with this with this Bedlam case or whatever they called it.
Oh yeah, that
because he hasn't gotten Blofeld yet. He's had 2 years to do it and all of that. So there's just a little bit of that. That's like for a 2 hour and 20-minute movie, I feel like we could have made that a little more natural in its progression. So it was both rushed and too drawn out.
That's true. Yeah. But I did appreciate that this was the one Bond girl he fell for, and I do appreciate how it seemed, barring the time issue, like they played it well.
Oh yeah,
they played falling for each other well,
which is also funny because the rumors were they didn't get along.
Well, based on what we've heard about George Lazenby, not first time acting and not really wanting to be there, first time acting and having to do what he had to do on screen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to be a little bit of an egomaniac to think you can pull that off.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm walking around in a kilt, making out with all these attractive ladies on TV. Like, no, I don't even want to kiss my wife on camera. What are you talking about? Like, not okay.
Yeah. I also read that Diana Rigg, part of why she wanted to do this movie was she wanted to do something kind of epic and play a role where she didn't have to carry a gun like Emma Peel and do a little something different, which she for the most part does here. But I find Tracy to be an interesting character in the Bond mythos because later on we'll get to when we talk about Casino Royale. James Bond is known as the womanizer, right? He's always different woman all the time, and he even does it in this movie in parts. But part of this movie was that he fell for Tracy. He genuinely loved her. They get married at the end of the movie. Yeah. And then, so it's like, it's this whole different thing for James Bond, and all of that gets taken away from him right at the end of the movie. And it's sort of self-fulfilling prophecy cycles back and kind of turns him cold again, because it's like, here he is finally letting down his guard and inviting someone in and getting close to them, and then he loses them right away because of what he does.
Yeah, it's the Spider-Man problem. No one can know who you are because it puts everyone you love in danger.
Yeah.
You have to be alone. James Bond is destined to be alone because if anyone knows, like, Blofeld's just there and ruins his life again because for some reason when Blofeld got clotheslined by that tree branch, nobody went back to make sure he was caught. Let's talk about that plot hole for a second. The bobsled chase from hell. So they're going down this hill for 3 days, shooting at each other, and it's just mass pandemonium. But really great way to take out Blofeld is just, clothesline him with a tree branch. Going 70 miles an hour. He's dead, by the way. No, we don't do dead counters in this season of the show, but he's dead. He's not alive.
No.
But they apparently took that for granted and thought, I saw that. His neck snapped. I'll just leave him up there to freeze.
Right.
Where he comes out of nowhere and kills your wife in the car. Like, what? It's a little bit of me having to separate from it because
it's the same thing as Goldfinger just showing up on the plane at the end.
Yes.
Now he does end up getting killed by getting blown out the window, but this is actually one of the few times, I think it might be one of the only times where the villain doesn't get captured or killed at the end of the movie, just gets away. Him and his sidekick.
And he shouldn't have. He shouldn't have gotten away.
No, he shouldn't have at all. But yeah, it's one of those things where you're right. Bond is destined to be alone. And the one time he does try, he loses that. And that kind of chills him to getting close to anyone again in a deep manner.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
There's all of that. We also had, by the way,
we had a minor Bond girl in Angela Scular as Ruby. And she's one of the main women that he works with in the allergy clinic. We'll call it the allergy clinic. The first one he meets anyway.
And she's your classic ditzy blonde Bond girl. Just there as like
she's the Plenty O'Toole of this movie.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great comparison. Although she has more screen time and more to do than Plenty O'Toole.
Sure.
But like her, and then the other one that shows up in his room.
Right. I can't remember who that was.
I don't remember either. And in fact, I don't know if they ever said her name, because he even says, like, what's your name? And she says, I'll tell you in the morning.
Right.
And there's the running gag that, like, Sir Hillary doesn't like girls, yet he somehow likes those two.
Right.
So I
haven't met one
silly.
like you before. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, I think something similar to that was the line he used on both of them.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So she didn't have much to do. And I think that's pretty natural. There's always more than one Bond girl. There's the one ally Bond girl that's like got substance. And then there's the I'm pretty to look at and I'm a distraction for Bond for 20 minutes of the movie that you forget.
Ruby is the, what's her name? Covered in gold paint. In Goldfinger.
I can't remember her name now.
It's not Tilly. Jennifer?
Yeah, no, that's not Jennifer. I don't know. Hold on, I can find it for you. We've got records.
We do, but like that's who she is in this one.
Right, Jill Masterson, Jill and Tilly. Yeah,
yes, Jill Masterson. She's the Jill Masterson of this one, where she's there. And again, these movies don't know how to write women, especially at this point. So she's more of a plot device than anything else.
For sure,
which is unfortunate, but. I do think that Angela Scholar was fine. She played. Yeah. She understood the assignment of that character and played it well.
Yeah, she did her part. So let's talk a little bit about these henchmen.
It is a rule of the clinic.
The clinic, that's right. We've got Ilsa Steppett as Irma Bunt.
I loved her as Irma Bunt. Irma Bunt was awesome. Like
she was mean.
She was. This was Ilsa Steppert's first English language film.
She did spectacular.
Yeah, and the bummer of it is she did not get to continue on a big career after this, because unfortunately she passed away of a heart attack days after this movie premiered.
Wow. That's so unfortunate. You know who she is to me mentally is she's Miss Trunchbull from Matilda.
Yeah,
she's an angry Swiss German, whatever she was, Miss Trunchbull. She's keeping these women in line in this facility.
No nonsense, and I adored her in this movie. Like, it's just such a fun role, because you've always got the hench people. And there's always the muscle. In this case, the muscle was Yuri Boryenko playing Grunther. Basically like a Russian pro wrestler. And he's the muscle. She is as well, but she is also like, she's just keeping everyone in line. If anybody talks out of turn, she's just barking at them saying, we don't use surnames. We don't talk about that anywhere. But the way she said clinic was great.
Clinic.
But she's solid, and she was supposed to be in Diamonds Are Forever. They were going to have her and Blofeld return, and then she passed away, so they didn't have her in the next movie.
Well, that's
unfortunate. It's a bummer, because we don't even, like, she's just gone. We don't hear from her again. She just disappears.
But her last action was taking out Tracy in the car, because I think that was her who did the shooting, because Blofeld wouldn't get his hands dirty. No. And that I mean, what a way to go out. You killed James Bond's wife like minutes after she became Mrs. Bond. You
right? Yeah. That is that's a lasting impression you made on Mr. Bond.
Yeah, well done from her. I don't know that there's much more to say about her, other than she was just a thrilling villain.
She was. She's not at the level memorable. She's not as memorable as, say, Odd Job or Jaws, but they have such a unique look to them, like style.
Yeah.
She is close to that, though. She is very much what Austin Powers' Frau Farbissina was based on. is like a comedic version of Irma Bunt.
Right. It's great that she has that, because I mean, really, there aren't that many henchmen. We mention Odd Job and Jaws all the time because they have like a weird gimmick that works. Like throwing the hat and the metal teeth, obviously, is a pretty cool gimmick. But she just being as a stoic, mean, hair in her bun, angry lady works. I think the closest thing you could probably get to a villain, another Bond henchman that worked, maybe Xenia Onatopp, because she had a way of killing people that was very memorable. But it's like most of the villains are just or the henchmen are just henchmen. They're big, maybe. You know, it takes them a lot of punches to take one down, but that's kind of the way it works. So this one standing out like she did is kind of impressive.
Well, typically what you get is you get a grunter. You get, the big muscly guy that is the physical imposition to James. And here, Irma, like, I have no doubt that if James had stepped out of line, that Irma would just put him down. Like, she has the fists of a plumber.
Right. Yeah.
And would just
ball it up and crutch him.
Yep.
Into the pipe.
They never like show that. It's just through the way she carries herself.
Right.
But she has a presence, and I really like it. And she gets to do a lot of exposition too.
Yeah. And the camera works with her. There were a lot of upward shots giving her that more imposing view. There's also, like, once you start really paying attention to movies like this that we've been doing this series, it's like how things are done to give things more character or position.
Yeah.
Like, so much thought goes into a movie where we
one of the things,
the camera and they do the thing, but like it's all about how to make a person look their best and look how you want them to look to make the audience feel a thing. It's incredible.
There's a great YouTube series that's titled Every Frame a Painting. And when you get down to it, a lot of filmmaking is all of that. There's a lot of subtle psychology in filmmaking, the way they frame things, the way they position stuff, the way they stage and block everything. And the director of this actually talked about how he wanted to frame everything to look really good, but also he was thinking about it in terms of, I want it to look good, and I also want it to look good when it plays on television, when they crop it for TV.
Wow. Yeah.
So there were shots like that opening when he's looking through the scope. I noticed that I'm like, oh, this looks really cool. But then if you cropped it, it's still going to look good because the way they did. So, directors think of that kind of stuff, and cinematographers think of that kind of stuff when they're doing this, camera placement, where you place a camera in a scene. Wally Pfister talks about that quite a bit with his cinematography and like where he places the camera inside of a conversation. If you put the camera in between two characters, it's very different than putting it over one of their shoulders or putting it from the side. And these are what separate really good filmmakers from mediocre filmmakers is thinking about stuff like that.
It's easy to not consider filmmaking the art that it is because it's such a commodity at this point. Like when you think of an art piece or an art museum, there's a certain type of person that goes to view art in its hardest, most basic form. But like movies and TV, it's still art. It just depends on who's the artist behind it and how much care they're going to take into putting it. You're not just pointing the camera and going act. Actors, you're considering a lot, and that's to do it differently. Yeah,
and that's the difference between acting for film and acting for stage. Where with stage, you have a perspective of it's an actor's medium because they have to carry everything. There is no framing. You have to create all the emotion based on your performance.
Right,
film,
you can get your face because there are people who will not be able to see it.
Yep, but film has different subtleties to it, and that's why it's a little bit different, and that's why adapting a play to the screen or vice versa takes a lot of work. And I do think it's the whole thing of like, oh, Michael Bay just blows stuff up and does dumb things, but he's thinking about like what's going to catch your eye, what's going to make you pay attention to this part of the frame versus this part of the frame. Do you frame something up in the center, or do you offset it? Or like you said, filming in a way where you're looking up at Ilsa Steppert to give her a more imposing view.
Yeah.
All of that is thought about.
It's just so cool to think of it in terms of like, you got people who love Andy Warhol and people who love Salvador Dali and people who love Rene Magritte and like all these different artists. Movies are no different. You're going to get the vibe you're getting out of these people. A James Gunn movie is very different than a Christopher Nolan movie. Both equally amazing in their own rights, but like different. You could put them on equal footing as for terms of filmmaking artistry, but you're getting a different vibe from both of them. It's just fun. That was a side tangent.
Absolutely.
But yeah, great henchmen, obviously. But let's learn a little bit about our allies. I don't actually know. Do I have a sound for that? I don't think I do. So we'll just talk about our allies, because there weren't. I mean, really, we had a couple, but one of them was basically mute the whole time. And we got out of M pretty fast. But there was a scene in this I loved, and you alluded to it already, and it was Moneypenny being awesome.
Moneypenny is the linchpin of MI6. Like,
Moneypenny keeps this boat rolling.
She does.
Rolling, sailing.
Floating.
It is floating. Keeps the boat afloat. She is so good. I was captivated by the scene that she was in. So Bond goes in after to get his next mission, or to report that he's found info about Blofeld. He just needs to do some work on it. M has taken him off Project Bedlam. He's no longer going to be chasing Blofeld, and he'll be reassigned. So James immediately goes out to Moneypenny. This is after he's thrown his hat on the hat rack too, by the way, which is the coolest thing. Every time he walks.
Last time he does it, apparently.
It's the last time he did it. Well, thank you, George Lazenby, for that gift, because that was very cool.
It was very cool.
But Moneypenny's there, and he says, draft a memo. I hereby resign from MI6, blah, blah, blah. Goes back to his office, starts putting his stuff away. He can't go to Blofeld. He doesn't want to play the game anymore. He's out.
Yeah.
That's his thing. He wants it. And then he gets called, like, M would like to see you. Okay, well, he's expecting, here we go. Here's the thing. Walks in, M just looks at him and says, request granted. And he hands him the paper. You know, and I mean, Bond is like, oh, he called my bluff. I'm out of MI6. You can see the regret on his face. Mm-hmm. This is the non-actor, George Lazenby, acting, doing a very good job. Bond's already stoic, so it's okay. But you can see that shield breaking down a little. And as he walks out and talks to Moneypenny, she tells him to read the letter, and it's granting him a vacation time, some PTO, because she didn't write "I quit," because she knew that's not what he wanted. He just was angry, and she wasn't going to let him throw away his career because he was mad and having a little fit.
She knew that that's not a decision you make when you're emotional.
No,
and she knows
she knew what had happened.
And she cares enough about James, and their flirtation is real, and like, she genuinely cares about him, and she's like, I'm not going to let you do this. And so she doesn't let him do that. And I love him saying, like, what would I do without you, and leave. Mm-hmm. And I like that because her response is, well, what would you do with me? Like,
right.
But then she leaves, and M immediately is like, Moneypenny, what would I do without you? Like, she knows how to, that's why I say she's the linchpin, because Bond and M are both very stubborn, annoying men. And Moneypenny is like, these two idiots. Like, I'll fix this.
She handles it. She's going to keep them both from killing each other or doing something stupid. Because M doesn't necessarily love Bond's approach to his tasks.
No, not at all.
He's very good. So he gets to stay because he does resolve the problem. It's probably way more expensive than it needs to be. But nobody else would be able to get it done like he can.
And so, Lois Maxwell's Moneypenny, just fantastic every time. Good.
She was so perfect. The only other ally that I can recall, I watched this a few days ago, was the blonde dude that was kind of assisting Bond, following him around, putting the well, I mean, I guess Draco's an ally, so I could say Draco is an ally, but Draco is
the Felix Leiter of this movie.
Sure,
but he's not CIA, and he's not even he's a criminal,
right?
He runs a criminal organization. Mm-hmm. It's just not as bad as Spectre. So Bond kind of looks the other way, but then he can get information on Spectre and Blofeld, so he's going to work with him. But
yeah, but that's the only reason. But I think they begin to respect each other because Draco
they
does have
definitely
what
do.
Bond needs. But it's the enemy. The enemy is my friend kind of a relationship to start with. I mean, he's kidnapped and taken to an underground base to meet Draco. Right? I thought was really going to be like the villain. I thought that Blofeld was kind of a red herring. He just said his name. But then like we get some pretty cool scenes with him and getting his assistance, particularly at the end when Draco uses helicopters to like shoot up it's just a crazy invasion of the mountain lair. And Draco
by the way,
punches his daughter in the face at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, if he believes their property, he really showed you just then.
Boy, does he ever. Like,
knocked her F out.
He already said that, she needs a woman or she needs a man to dominate her.
Right.
And like, he does not. It's weird. He loves his daughter, but boy, does he treat her oddly.
Oh, just total crap.
Just straight sucker punches her and knocks her right out.
Right in the face. It was so wild. I couldn't believe that.
Gabriel Frizzetti plays Draco, by the way. He's the other one that has his voice dubbed. So his Italian accent was thick, and they dubbed his voice with that had the name here. David DeKaiser, who actually comes back as a doctor in Diamonds Are Forever.
I couldn't tell. And I'm really thinking it's because 60s and 70s, evidently the boom mics and stuff just were total trash because so much ADR is visible and happens that it's easy to just overlook it when it's being dubbed by someone else. You just don't even really think about it.
There's such a better job of recording and processing ADR now to match what is done on set.
Right.
These days that it matches better.
Well, every IMAX movie is ADR'd because the cameras are flipping loud. Can't hear anything. Yeah. Every IMAX movie you go watch, if it's recorded with an IMAX camera, all the dialogue is ADR'd. It just has to be.
But Draco, I thought was actually pretty interesting because he's the criminal and because, Bond at the end of the movie is basically told by M, we can't do anything. I have my orders. We're going to cede to Blofeld's demands. They're going to pay him. And Bond is like, I got 48 hours before that happens, and just goes off the goes off the reservation and just goes for it. And he gets Draco. He calls up Draco from his office. Real smart there, Jimmy. Yeah. And is like, hey, I got a job for you. We're going to need some helicopters.
It was a cool. I mean, it made for a great final act of action.
Absolutely. This, by the way, is Christopher Nolan's favorite Bond film, and
interesting.
That scene at the end, the storming of that, was a big influence on stuff that he shot for Inception.
Yeah, absolutely. I see it now. As soon as you say Christopher Nolan, it's like, oh yeah, because they had the ice fortress as the final act of Inception, where they all were trying to go find the secrets, or implant the secrets. It depends on how you look at it. But yeah, that's really cool. Definitely a cool final act for sure.
Oh, one last thing on Moneypenny too is Lois Maxwell in the wedding scene. We kind of talked about how like Moneypenny both loves to flirt with James, but also actually does care about him. And that scene in particular is almost heartbreaking because she's genuinely sad that James is getting married. Yeah. Because she's going to lose James Bond.
It's going to change everything. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's also like, she's happy that he's happy, but sad at the same time. And it was really well done. I thought Lois Maxwell was great in that scene. And I love M coming up to her at the end and her being like, I always cry at weddings. Like she's got to now try to be the stoic one for a scene.
Right. And that whole scene played out so well because you had Desmond Llewellyn in there as Q. You had M there. It was like a really good kind of reunion of everyone at the end of the movie. So many movies, we see these characters at the beginning to set up his mission, and then they're done. Their job is over. So seeing them come back around and be there to celebrate Bond's wedding was really cool and you can tell these people are his people. They're happy for him. They want him to do it. It's great. They're glad to see Bond settling down. He deserves it. And I really like that a lot. But overall, some great allies in this movie. But let's
For sure.
talk about Q Brain.
Now, pay attention, 007.
That is the voice of Desmond Llewellyn, who plays Q yet again in this movie, but Q only really at the beginning. There was not much Q to go round. We didn't have a lot of gadgets happening in this movie. This was much
and part of it is because like Bond is on leave and it's not an official mission that he's on, so he doesn't get to go to Q Branch and get given his gear to go. He's just like rogue and on his own.
He's figuring out as he goes. Like if you want to call his disguise a gadget, you can, because he was working as a Scotsman, and his giant overcoat with his glasses to pretend to be this genealogy professor.
So part of that was costuming, and part of that was to cover up that George Lazenby had broken his arm at one point.
Oh, wow.
And he had to wear a jacket to cover that up. So that was another thing that he did that kind of upset Broccoli and Saltzman, was like he went off skiing and fell and broke his arm. And
did you see where he was? Who would you not ski on that mountain?
Right. I mean, no, I get it. This is the first Bond movie with a skiing chase, by the way. Connery never did one. That
becomes kind of a thing later. I think Roger Moore did a skiing chase as well.
Moore and Dalton.
This is probably the one that people remember a lot of. It was long. And
it's very long.
It wouldn't be matte special effects.
Oh, composited.
The composite special effects were painful to look at. There's a time. Yeah. So we have to remember this is 1969. Star Wars won't come out till 77. And if you watch a movie like this, you understand where special effects was at the time.
Yes.
And you can better understand why Star Wars blew people's flipping minds.
Yeah. Because the stunt work.
The stunt work was good.
The wide shots and the stunt work with all the pro skiers and the Olympic skiers and everything, really, really good. But anytime they had to show the close-ups of the actors so you can be like, hey, that is actually James Bond.
Yeah.
It looks rough. It looks really rough because it's blue screen or rear projection.
Yes. The rear projection was the worst. And like all in all, I was telling Stephanie while we were watching, it was like, it would be better for them not to do any close-ups.
Yeah,
just shoot nothing but angles of the skiers going down the mountain and the guns. I don't need the close-ups because it really took me out of it by how poor the quality of that special effect was. And I think, too, if you did remove a lot of those close-up shots, you shorten this movie by 5 minutes. That's a really long ski chase.
It is.
Overlong. And it goes forever. And for it to look that bad and go forever, it was just a tough watch.
Yeah. And we don't have like we have a car. Aston Martin has a car in this, the DBS. I think it was the DBS Vantage. It's a great car. It's a really cool looking Aston, but it doesn't get to do anything because it's not like tricked out, and we don't get we get car scenes, but never any gadgets in the car.
Right.
In fact, Q is only in the beginning of the movie and then shows up at the wedding. And in the beginning, I feel like that was Desmond Llewellyn's under contract. We have to have Q in the movie. So here's a quick shot. Here's a scene of him with his, the most ridiculous gadget in the movie, which is like the radioactive lint.
Yes.
That they can use to track people.
Right. Of course. You could do that.
Lint of all the things, lint is what you're going to go with.
Yeah.
All right, Q. I did have a favorite gadget.
Yeah, I think you and I both had the favorite gadget. That giant safe cracking machine was just awesome.
Safe cracker / copy machine.
Yes, it could copy stuff. It was the most bonkers gadget I think I've ever seen. Like, even you're in a movie studio, you can pretend a lot. You don't need functional stuff. You could hand wave away. You could take a Solo cup painted gray and stick it on a rotating tumbler and be like, haha, it's open.
What's great about it is it's such a James Bond gadget because it is the exact thing he needs to do. It's a single purpose. Like, that trunk was designed, built, and manufactured only to crack a safe and print copy documents. That's it. It's the Batman effect of like having the exact gadget you need at the exact time. Like, oh, I happen to have shark repellent in my utility belt, and I also am dealing with sharks here. Like, it's
convenient.
It's the quintessential James Bond gadget. I have the perfect gadget for this moment. just so happens.
And I love that it gives him the opportunity to sit and read the latest issue of Playboy in this lawyer's office and unfold the centerfold like you do, which was great. Also, because of that, I was watching this with Sam, and thank God he left the room, because this is the first James Bond movie where I've seen actual upper female nudity on screen. Generally, James Bond is implied. It's never really like it's shown. This is a PG rated movie, and he unfolds that centerfold while walking to the elevator. Is like, nope, that's plain as day.
Yep. Also,
I'm glad my kid left the room.
Having the Playboy magazine, I think, was a little bit of a nod to On Her Majesty's Secret Service was serialized in Playboy.
Oh, okay.
The novel was.
That makes sense.
So I think there was a little bit of that going on too. But like, yeah, on the whole, not a ton of gadgets. Like, he's got a little spy camera. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was neat.
But that
it was just a camera.
You know, it was just camera, and also like that whole part of the invasion thing could have just been glossed over. Like,
oh yeah, we didn't need
again, there's stuff you could trim, but on the whole, not a lot of gadgets, not a lot of car. But the DBS is a great car. The whatever, I think it was a Cougar that Tracy was driving. Mercury Cougar was a nice muscle car.
They were all cool. Yeah. They were cool cars. I liked them a lot. I had fun. But yeah, just to wrap it up, I'm just going to play this because it's the last button I have available.
It's Blofeld. Blofeld.
Yep, it was. Overall, I think just getting into our overall closing thoughts of the movie, like, I like that this is the one movie that we only have one good and bad, because this movie is good and bad.
Yeah.
Like, there are things I love about it that make it a great Bond movie, and there are things that I just cannot stand. That you know when you play a video game and you're like, I would play that again if it weren't for X part that I had to work through.
Yep.
This is the movie version of that problem, and that I would watch it again if I didn't have so much weird, slow time to spend. It's a 220-minute movie. And I really think, like, between some of it, you're talking about the camera thing, we're talking about there's shots of him walking everywhere or going up a hill, or like the whole thing at the beginning with the weird. You could have started this movie in the casino.
Yes.
Like, you don't need to start it on the beach. It's never revealed, aside from those two guys, showing up again at that hotel room later, but you're not getting any extra information. Goldfinger starts with him in a pool resort, having already obviously slept with somebody.
Yeah.
And then, it doesn't need the lead up it had, and it doesn't need a lot of the stuff it did in the middle. The action scenes are overlong. The stuff in the barn, where they're outrunning everyone. They ski for 20 minutes, and then they drive away for another 10 minutes, and then they're in the barn. And only places where characters are being pushed forward in their narrative really makes sense to me. The action scenes are great, but the action scenes were so long I found myself getting bored, and I wanted more of that character time that was good, that was very enjoyable.
Yes, and
I just want to edit this.
It's one of those things where 2 hours and 22 minutes, even by today's standards, is a long movie.
That's a long movie.
And in the late 60s, that's a really long movie. This was the longest Bond movie by runtime until, I think, Spectre, I want to say, or maybe Casino Royale.
That's a big.
So it's a long time where it was the longest movie. And for me, cut the cold open out and start in the casino. That's just how he meets her. He just happens to meet her. You don't need any of the first part of it. That's just, he sees her. Yeah. And he sees her walk up. She's gorgeous. And he's like, I'm going to do this, and then try to woo her. And you don't need anything else. And everything that happens at casino makes sense. And then the action sequences are good, but each one of them is long, and there are so many of them, because we go from skiing to them then he's hiding from them at the skating rink, and then they get in the car.
We didn't even talk about him getting locked in the sky bucket.
Oh yeah,
sky trolley thing, and that was 12 minutes of him being stuck in there trying to get out.
Now I will say there was one cool part about that. that I did like, because it was something they didn't need to do, but it was a nice touch, is him ripping the pockets out of his pants to use them like gloves when grabbing onto those cables.
Clever.
I like that. It's a nice touch. But that scene's too long, coupled by skiing away is too long, then the driving, then them getting caught in a race that just happens to be going on as a distraction, then getting to the barn in the blizzard. Mm-hmm. And then after all of that, there's another ski chase that ends in an avalanche. And we go from that to now, and then Bond goes back home and comes back in the helicopters, and we get our final. So it's just, you're right. At some point, it just gets exhausting. Yeah. And then there's the longest bobsled chase of all time.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. There's so much of it that you do get bored and you get lost, and it's like, trim some of that down. The movie is better. I get why there's a lot of people that really like this as a Bond movie, because I mentioned Christopher Nolan has said this was his favorite one. Another director that has said that is Steven Soderbergh. Said this is his favorite Bond movie. He said, I think his quote was that it was the only Bond movie that's worth rewatching for more than entertainment value only.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay.
And I get that. And there is some good character work in here.
Lots of it. Yeah.
And I think that refining that and focusing on those parts of it are better. Like another part you could cut is, we don't need to see him go deal with Ruby and seduce her and sleep with her and then leave and go back to his room. And there's another one of the girls there. And he goes through, because it's the same. No, it doesn't add anything. It's just the same scene twice.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
there's a 95% Rotten Tomatoes movie buried in this 81% movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all related to runtime and pacing.
Yes.
And that's my opinion. I think everything else about this movie is awesome. I think the plot is just complex enough. Mm-hmm. I followed it, but I still felt like I was clever being able to follow it, even though it's because it's complex, but it's also very simple. It's the James Bond thing of like, we think we're doing one thing and then we learn about like the actual plot, the actual villains thing that they're trying to do. And then it carries with that thread. We're like, okay, it's the allergy place, but it's actually, when Telly Savalas tells you what he's doing. It's just it's overall a great plot, an exceptional cast. I mean, George Lazenby really surprised me. I was so into that. Telly Savalas was so great. I just loved everyone in it. And then if I could just have shortened it, I would not have had, my eyeballs just drooling out of my head.
Shorten it up and just tighten up the runtime.
Yeah, is
really what you need. I also forgot how brutal this one was.
Yes, I wrote that down. I wrote down the word brutal. It was a lot.
The first ski chase, he knocks a guy off the side of a mountain, and we watch that person fall all the way down, including impacting the ground. Yes, it's clearly a dummy.
Yeah, but don't cut that. I want that left in.
But like that goes all the way down. And then later on in the second ski chase, we get a guy that falls into effectively a giant snowblower.
Oh, that was
and ground up. And that was the other one.
Level.
Yeah. And I'd forgotten about that. So, which is fine. I don't mind that being in there. I just forgot about it. No. But yes, tighten this thing up, because there is a great Bond film buried in this, because it is both every Bond movie, but also breaks parts of the formula. It does some things a little bit different. You've got that Bond going rogue. You've got him meeting the girl, and this one he actually marries, and then you take that away from him, and that's gut wrenching at the end. Yeah, that's compelling.
What a way to end a movie.
Oh yeah, and it just ends right there.
Ends too. Credits. Yeah,
but it's just let's tighten up. Let's cut 7 minutes off the front, start at the casino. Let's just trim up. We don't need 2 ski chases. We can do with 1. We can go from 1 right to, like, she doesn't need to get kidnapped and then they go rescue her either. I feel like of all the things they did right with Tracy, having her then be kidnapped damsel in distress that they have to go rescue didn't need to be there. He could have just skipped that whole part and had just been like, all right, you're not allowed to go after Blofeld, and him be like, well, I'll just call this guy and do it on my own and do that. And Tracy doesn't need to be involved there at all. Or she can
involved in that.
She didn't either have to be kidnapped, or she can be like, I'm coming along, I'm helping because I want to stop this guy. Either one of those would have worked fine.
Right.
So
I think 20 minutes, if cutting 20 minutes off this movie would be easy.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Getting it down to a 2-hour runtime would be piece of cake. Getting it further than that, you're going to start making really clever. I think you still trim more fat. I'm just saying getting to a 2-hour movie is going to be a breeze.
But I think 2 hours with this story moves along well and paces well.
Pace is better. Yeah, I think if you're walking out of this, you're just, because this is 1969 too. We weren't doing 3-hour movies. Like
not as often.
I
no.
would love to know. All of our reviews are obviously coming from people who've seen the movie in more recent times in the last 20 years or so. But like, I would love to see 1969 people talking about whether they came out of this movie being like, that was exhausting. That was too much. I mean, when movies first started going 15 minutes, people are like, no one will ever watch a 30-minute movie. Could you imagine how boring that would be? Now, I mean, it's routine. We've fallen back. We got into 2.5 to 3 hour movies real big there for a little while. And we've kind of brought it back to about 2 hours is the average.
I am of the mind, and I am a proponent of a movie or a whatever you're watching is as long as it needs to be. If you need
to tell the story,
the Green Mile is 3 hours long. It does not feel like a 3-hour movie because they paced that. Yeah, they paced it perfectly. I remember coming out of that being like, that was 3 hours. That did not feel like it. And so if you need an hour and a half, if you need The Emperor's New Groove at 1 hour and 15 minutes to tell its story, perfect. If you need 2 hours to tell your story, that's fine. This is a hour 55 to 2 hour and 2 hour movie that got bloated out to 220, and it didn't need to be. It could have been trimmed up, and it would have been, I think, just better for it.
Absolutely. But overall, I think 81% seems like a valid number for me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Still loved
what I watched. Yeah. Absolutely phenomenal. The best and the worst Bond from George Lazenby. You heard it here. We'd love to hear what you think about this movie or any of the other movies that we've talked about. We've been through Sean Connery now. We're hitting George Lazenby, and next week we're going to be going into Roger Moore territory.
That's right.
With the first and the best and the worst movie from him. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. But if you want to get in touch with us and tell us what you thought about the movie, we're on Blue Sky at 24fpspresents.bsky.social. You can find Travis's stuff over there at tvstravis.com. And you can find my stuff in a new domain I registered at thatstephenadams.com,
nice.
Where you can find all the podcasts that we do and get in touch with us. 24fpspresents@gmail.com is the email. We'd love to hear from you in our email. Because that just gives us a lot of fun stuff to read and for us to be able to do those feedback episodes once we get enough feedback to address. So holler at us over there. Also, if you like to use your voice, you're on your phone, you're driving, whatever, you want to tell us something, voicecast.app/24fps is going to be the place where you can send us a voicemail. We can play it, we can read it, we can listen to it with all the right inflection that you want us to have, so we know exactly how you feel. That's what we need. Thank you so much for tuning in to 24 FPS Presents The Good, the Bad, the Bond. We'll see you next time for some Roger Moore.